Friday morning means Stratford upon Avon movie reviewer par excellence of the Radio Times, the Metro newspaper, and a BBC CWR. Good morning, James Luxford.
Good morning. One introduction.
That's quite a delay I've got to you there, James. Sounds like you're on out to Mars or somewhere. That took to hear back from you, but hopefully we'll manage over the next 4 or 5 minutes or so and talk about your movie picks for the weekend. Just before we start, Internet Movie Database, IMDb, if you ever look at it on the web, reckon almost 600,000 films have been released during the lockdown. That's nuts, the volume of movies that have been released and content that's out there because of the lockdown.
I think it's because, we're all at home and there are a lot of people who are, bored and need that entertainment. And I think if they've got anything in the vault, now's the time to release it.
Hopefully the 3 picks you got for us this morning are good for the weekend. You're here to maybe mark our card a bit for viewing over the weekend. Something to look forward to. We're going to start with, Sunday afternoon on Channel 5 for your first pick?
Yes, Sunday, 3:45 on Channel 5. It's Jason and the Argonauts, the 1963 classic fantasy about Jason and his quest for the Golden Fleece.
You shall have your place, Hylas. Hail, Hylas! I have found the finest crew in all Greece. Now for a ship that is worthy of them.
Has this been remade in years gone by? Have I mistaken that?
No, we've had things like sort of Clash of the Titans and similar sort of things, but nothing quite lives up to this. I think Jason and the Argonauts is an absolute classic. You've got the amazing effects by Ray Harryhausen. Just a real sort of Hollywood adventure, still stands up, and I think one of those really fine examples of how when Britain was a real force in blockbuster movie making. This is sort of an American and English co-production, and just absolutely fantastic.
3:45 Sunday afternoon, Channel 5. The classic Jason and the Argonauts. Bang up to date for your next pick.
Yes, on video on demand and from now, it's a Misbehaviour, recently released film in cinemas. It's the film of the true story behind the feminist protests that invaded the 1970 Miss World contest in London.
And what would have happened to you and your sisters if I'd thought like you, if I'd done what you're doing, neglected my poky little domestic world, neglected my marriage, neglected my children? You think you can have the same freedoms as a man, but you can't. You can't.
Great cast for this, isn't there, James?
Absolutely. Keira Knightley, Greg Kinnear, Keely Hawes, Guggenbarth Aurora, who plays the Miss World contestant, and it's a little light. It goes on the goes for a bit more of a broad comedy direction, but there is some interesting arguments in there. It's not just a simple the protesters versus Miss World. There are other arguments thrown in there, such as Guggenbarth Aurora's contestant who says, well, she's one of the first women of colour to compete in the contest, and what that would bring to her country, to people who look to just someone who looks a little bit different to the norm, to past winners, and what the protests do to disrupt that journey. And so there's a different argument there. Overall, though, a bit more of a broad comedy, enjoyable, good cast, and I really enjoyed it.
Misbehaviour, out now on various on-demand services, whether that be Sky, Apple TV or Netflix, there for you this weekend. And similarly, with this final pick of yours for this weekend.
Yes, available via similar means, as you said. Blue Story. It's the story of 2 childhood friends who are torn apart by London's postcode gang war.
Hey, where you from? What happened? Who done this to you?
Your boy's done it.
My boys? What are you talking about? You know I'm not part of them. We always have each other's back. All I know is, if you're from ghetto, you're one of them.
Marco, why are you letting your brother brainwash you? Stop being stupid.
What are you gonna do, huh?
What are you trying to prove?
I'm coming for you. And I swear on my life, I ain't gonna stop until you're dead.
This was hugely controversial when it was released. I remember speaking to you at the time when it was released, and there were calls for it to be banned, weren't there, from movie cinemas. You were strongly against that because you thought it was, infringing rights and liberties, but also because you thought that then mistook the message of the movie, which you felt actually highlighted, not glorified gang culture.
Absolutely. This caused some violent scenes or some headlines in a cinema in Birmingham, I believe. And to me, the calls to ban it were sort of missing the point. I think with so many controversial films, you got to see it first in a strange way, because Blue Story is an anti-gang story. This is not a celebration of violence. It's not a celebration of gang culture. None of these characters are shown to be going down a good path. It is literally narrated by the director to show that they are, ruining their lives by choosing a life of violence and what the potential could be. So I think this is really well written. I think it's really well acted, and I think it's an important story for this time about something that's really going on in the world, and something that I think people watching can learn from.
Good stuff. Appreciate that, James. 3 great picks for the weekend for us this morning on BBC CWR. And what sort of vibes are you getting from Hollywood and from within the movie world at the moment? There's the start of the talk of maybe releasing some restrictions. We're not saying for a minute that cinemas are about to open or anything like that, but certainly so many of the summer blockbusters, the releases have been sort of put back, haven't they, to August, September, October, even into 2021 for some of these. Anything coming out of Hollywood at the moment that suggests a loosening up of that, or anything maybe we could look forward to?
I think we're all just like every industry, just waiting and seeing what governments advise. Yeah. But I think the next sort of I suppose 18 months around sort of autumn and winter is when the big hitters come. Of course, No Time to Die moved to November. I think they've given themselves a bit of a window for their big hitters, and I think once the restrictions do lift, we're going to have so many big movies. We're really going to have the summer of 2020 and the summer of 2021 almost back to back. I don't know how it's going to affect whether people want to go to cinemas. Of course, with all that we're being told, being in a dark room close to a lot of other people is the last thing anyone wants to do right now. Yeah. But I think once the restrictions are lifted and we go into whatever normal is after this huge world event, people are going to want to go to the cinema, and there's going to be a lot of movies stored up for them to watch.
Good stuff. James, always good to speak to you. Best of luck. Stay safe in Stratford-upon-Avon, and we'll speak Monday, and you can tee us up for the week ahead for our viewing for next week as well. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
It's James Luxford from the Metro newspaper, Radio Times magazine, and our movie reviewer here on BBC CWR.
CWR Breakfast
with Phil Upton.
So he's given you a few ideas.